Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second panel of our AI for Tourism event. I'd like to first thank our partners, the Ministry of Tourism, STA, GAIN, and Sadaya for their support on making this event happen. This panel is called AI at the Core, and it focuses on how basically organizations are embedding AI to support their operations and culture. My name is Anthony Kassab. I'm a director at Artifact. Over the past years, I have been working with travel and tourism organizations, helping them in positioning data and AI as a strategic asset and helping them in implementing key AI solutions and strategies. I'm joined today by 4 panelists who bring a very good mix of AI plus travel and tourism to the table, and I'd invite them each to present themselves. So, Abdulaziz.
Thank you, Anthony. It is such an honor to participate in this global summit and in this session. I am Abdulaziz Al-Saigh. I'm the General Manager of Data Management Office, looking for the data governance mainly and data privacy within the ministry.
Ahmed.
Hello, everyone. My name is Imad Kamal, and I'm the VP of Digital Products and Services at the Saudi Tourism Authority. I oversee and ensure that we build products that are have a seamless experience for all of our visitors and businesses.
Tim.
Masa al Khair, I'm Tim Carmichael. I'm the Director of Data and AI at Riyadh Air. We're building a whole new airline for the kingdom and for this city. And that will bring a digitally native airline into the sector to promote some great travel experiences for our guests and for this country.
Tony.
I'm Tony Evans. I've been working at Meta for the last 13 or so years. These days I find myself helping teams as they try and build around data. I've been researching, so I've just finished a book. The book will come out in a couple of months' time, which is specifically for leaders about how young people, old people need to be merged together to get the most of AI.
Perfect. Thanks a lot to the panelists. I'd like to start also with a key fact. So AI contribution is meant to stand at 12% by 2030 in Saudi Arabia, contribution to GDP. But that heavily depends on organizations moving up in their AI maturity. So I'd like to start with Tim, actually, on a question on greenfield organizations. More specifically, how should such organizations like Riyadh Air structure themselves to foster AI innovation?
Anthony, if you'll allow me a brief pause before I answer that question. I just want to wave at Khalid at the back, who was on the last panel. Khalid, my daughter is an environmental scientist, and she would have loved everything you had to say about supporting sustainability on the Red Sea. I applaud you for making that at the heart of your strategy, and we are all very grateful for the work you and your team are doing to protect that environment. I'll now tell my daughter I went to a sustainability conference. So, innovation. Well, look, it's a greenfield site. Yes, we're a new company and we're building a new airline. And the first thing I think we should all celebrate is it's a greenfield site. Thank goodness for that. I'm sure many of us have been involved in transformations involving data and more recently AI, where frankly everything was fixed. No, you can't do that because that process is set in stone. No, you can't do that because we've got some legacy landscape software that you'll break if you do something new. Hey, I get to do it all new, all at once. And so is the whole company. And I think that's the joy of not having a legacy landscape. Now, in that environment, of course, that's an environment that's absolutely ripe for innovation. And the trick as you turn this fluid and dynamic environment into something more structured and more focused as an operating model is how do you do that without suffocating innovation? And I think for that, you need to bring people with you on the journey, and you need to help your people, your employees, and also your guests feel that they're part of that innovative journey. And so for us, what we've done is we've felt the most sensible way to do this is to bake innovation into our approach right from the outset, into our DNA, Madam Deputy Minister. And I think that's exactly how we want to play it. For us, DNA also stands for Digitally Native Airline. So the way we've done it is a fairly simple way. We've said that don't think about the portfolio of work you're going to do from the beginning. Think upstream of that. And so think of this as a funnel, and at the top of our funnel are ideas. And there is no monopoly on wisdom. Anyone from anywhere in an organization can bring an idea, and it might be an idea from something they're observing in the workplace or some experience they brought from somewhere else. The Good Ideas Club is alive and kicking, and we basically feed this funnel full of good ideas at the top. That feeds through a very lightweight governance mechanism into demand management, and I think this is probably where we'll all start recognizing, yeah, okay, demand management builds that relative prioritization of the work you're going to do to make sure it's really focused on generating value and satisfying your business's needs. And then the outcome of that demand management kicks into managing the portfolio and delivering actual work. That's GSD, which to my mother, when I'm speaking to her, is get stuff done. But we all know what that feels like, right? But it starts with ideas. And ideas, for me, are the way you express something that could prove to be innovative. And we've tried our very best to bake that into our whole approach right from day one.
Thanks a lot, Tim. I think also one key point that plays to Riyadh Air's advantage is the fact that Gen AI and the Gen AI revolution, if you want, which started in November 2022 with the release of ChatGPT, also started more or less when Riyadh Air was starting to be built. I'd like to take the view of Imad actually on more established organizations. Very similar question, taking the view of STA. So how can AI be positioned at the core of a digital transformation program for a more established organization?
This is a very great question, Anthony. And for us, it's, I would say, just to build on what Tim mentioned, it's really tough to balance between innovation, because you don't want to go too far and provide wrong information, and the balance between keeping things in place. Because at the end, we are, as tourism, and as my colleague Mayank mentioned, we don't have a lot of historical data. And we're trying to give the users the best that they can do in Saudi Arabia, the best places that they can visit, so today, I'll maybe make it into an example. Today, if you use one of the available AI chatbots, they might give you fake locations. You will end up building your whole plan on that, come to Saudi and does not find them. So we really at STA, in collaboration with our colleagues in the Ministry of Tourism, Sadaya, Artifact, and all the other entities, ensure that we have a correct information, an information that would help the user by seeing what they like, by utilizing what do you like to see. You are a couple, or you are coming alone, you have a short stay or a long stay, and then build on the data that we already have. This is, I think, the best way to ensure that. And the second thing is make sure that you don't use the AI that is general. Make it focused towards the industry that you are in. So in our case, it's tourism. We don't want someone to ask about something and then we give a very vague answer. So align the AI that you want to use with the objective of the organization.
Thanks a lot, Imad. I'd like to circle back on this fake chatbot that you mentioned. More a question to Abdulaziz. So there's a number of AI applications that are being released and rolled out at an exponential rate. So how do you control this? We've seen that organizations are actually struggling with the control of leveraging and using these AI responsibly, if you want. So the question here is, how do organizations ensure responsible development and use of AI?
Thank you, Anthony. As we all know that the AI development, it's developing very fast, in a fast rate, and regulatory framework cannot keep up with this speed. So we have a responsibility, and we have a very fast field. So we need to push back the responsibility towards those organizations and increase in the self-governance. And to do that, I want to break it down to three main areas: business and legal and ethical. For the business, we need to know what is the value proposition that we have. Are we doing it for the sake of following a new technology, or we have a clear plan, we have even an execution plan for it? That's number one. Number two, for the budgetary, do we have the right budget for it? Is it allocated in terms of dollars, in terms of resource? That's another thing. So we need to cover that for the business part. The other part is the legal. We need to make sure that individual privacy is well protected and we don't violate any personal data protection law. Also, we need to make sure that IP for others is not violated. Also, we need to assess any impact that could happen in terms of employees, workplace, or environment in general. Third area is the ethical part. We need to make sure that the transparency is there, fairness is there, the right data is there. It's not a bias, or we are not choosing one data set over another data set. All those sort of things need to be addressed very well. I want to illustrate one example that we did in the ministry using an AI. We have developed an AI tool in the ministry using the online reviews for detecting any potential violation for the tourism law. We have applied those principles from the data we acquired, the data through a legal API, and from the data, the output, we have tested the output. Actually, we tested manual. The inspector goes and checking if the data is right or not. And last but not least, we have not used the AI. We used it very responsible. We have not used the AI to trigger any immediate violation or fines. We have used it to trigger an indicator, to trigger an inspector to go to the investor and check if there is actually a violation or not. Those principles this model has gave us an efficiency in the cost. We increase the efficiency, and we lower the cost of inspection in general.
Thanks a lot, Abdulaziz. So on the 3 points on the business, legal, and ethical, I think there's one actually that really cuts across all three, is our responsibility in developing and nurturing AI talent. So the next question goes to Tony, actually, on how do you best integrate and nurture and incentivize young AI talent to boost this use of responsible AI?
So I'll break that down into two bits. You've got young, generational on one side, and then you've got AI specifically, like an occupational thing. So generationally, this is the idea that the age at which we grew up has a big influence on what we're going to be like in the workplace. So if we think about like Generation Z, who are coming into the workplace now, anyone under 27 in the room, 27 or under? Which is Generation Z, right? This is the next generation who are coming through, who are born digitally native. 35 to 40% of the workforce will be Generation Z in 2030. And if you forgive me for saying this, totally different attitude towards what the workplace should be like. My first realization of this was when I was round at a friend's house for dinner 15 years or so ago, and he said to his son, like, turn the light off. And so Jake, his son, went to the light switch and used his thumb to turn it off. And he said, turn it back on again. He used his thumb to turn it back on. And as Steve pointed out to me, he said, like, you or I always use our finger. That's our primary digit. Jake has done so much texting and so much gaming. His thumb is his primary digit, which was a great observation. And it took me into this learning about what Generation X are like. They are totally different when they enter the workplace. They want something different than the rest of us. They can do things in a totally different speed. So Jake now, he's 25, he's a financial analyst. If I look at what he's used, as he finished his MBA year before last, he's using GPT. He's never known a world without Google. And so all of these things that he can research, he can do it so much more quickly. He can teach himself Python and R. It took me a year to learn, I think the best part of a year to learn R. He can do that in a month, or 2 months. So totally different speed at which they're done. So that's the generational thing, first of all. To touch on the skills thing, I found employing data scientists in my last role, I had a team of data scientists at Meta. They're not motivated in the same way as other people. Wide generalization. But I could ask a data scientist in my team, would you like a bonus or do you want to work on an edge case? And they would take the edge case. Motivating these people who want to be intellectually stimulated, they would join with each other. They want to work in an environment where they can all join together very well and learn from each other. And you have to nurture the talent, you have to be able to do this. You have to give them that environment that they can grow in. I know a lot of people, and we picked up a lot of people like this, hired data scientists, stuck them in a corner, didn't know what to do with them, eventually found a happy home with us because we could instead give them a good place they could learn, nurture, and learn from each other.
My son would take the phone out and turn the dimmer down on the phone. He wouldn't even get up from his damn chair.
It's the same, exactly the same.
Thanks a lot, Tony. And I think when we think about different generations, one key challenge or two challenges that we see today whenever organizations are trying to embed AI, one is on resistance to change and sticking to more traditional approaches, and the other is on raising awareness and increasing adoption. So my first question goes to Imad actually on addressing resistance to change. So how do you address organizational resistance to adopt AI and digital change, the current ways of working?
Do you think next year we will be here or AI will replace us? So I think the first thing is that people need to understand, or employees in this case, that AI will not replace everyone. Because today, as I mentioned previously, AI today is not the same as the human, especially the generative AI. It can make up a lot of things. It's like, I would say, a young kid. It will help us by us guiding the AI. So I think the first key pillar is that you explain to whoever is resisting that it's not going to affect you. It's actually going to help you do better. Today, we, at our organizations, sometimes we ask for more people, more money, more time, more resources. I think AI is going to help with that. By explaining that, I think more people will adapt to it. And the second thing is explaining what's the value that AI is going to give us. If it is aligned with the objectives of the organization, then I think most of the people will come on board. And by doing that, I think you will face less resistance. And the last thing is align with everyone. What are you going to do? Because people are afraid of surprises. If you don't know what AI is going to do, of course, you're going to say, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to try to find something else. AI is going to destroy me or take over some of the stuff. So we really need to explain what AI is doing and how it's going to help with overall organization goals.
Great. No, I think the first point that you made is really important in basically explaining to stakeholders that AI is here to enable you and it will not actually replace you. There's one recent survey that was actually, or a report that was released by Gain a few days back, where it says that 40% of government organizations are adopting AI applications one way or the other. And out of those, more than 80% are saying that AI has significantly improved their work, their operations, services, and so on. So the next question is to Tim on how do you think we can get those numbers up on boosting adoption? So how can organizations ensure adoption of AI tools and measure value generated?
Yeah, well, so for me, this goes back to our strategy. And you mentioned earlier, Anthony, that essentially Riyadh there started thinking really seriously about how they were going to harness, how we are going to harness data and AI on a key date, and that was November 2022. And pretty much everyone at this summit, I don't need to explain what happened in November 2022, but the one thing that happened to us, this is before I joined, was a former strategic partner presented us with their suggested draft of our data strategy. Damn. Now, that data strategy had no mention of generative AI anywhere because we hadn't had that big chat GPT moment. So one of the first things I did when I joined at the beginning of this year, and I had the agreement with my line manager, I don't think I should be the data director, I should be the data and AI director because they're inseparable, is I said I need to rewrite a data and AI strategy. Now, why do I say all that? It's because we have two macro goals for our data and AI strategy. And the first one is to unlock value, which would otherwise be just out of reach. We've all been there, right? I'd love to be able to do this, but I haven't quite got the tools to do it. Okay, AI, data-fueled AI, has got a part to play there to unlock value for us. And whether that value is hard currency or whether it's a sense of satisfaction on the part of our guests, there's different ways to measure it. More of that maybe in a second. The second part of our strategy is all about having a data and AI-driven culture throughout the business, not just amongst data practitioners. So you've got to really make it part of everyone's business. And once again, that phrase, bake it into their DNA. Now, both of those things, unlocking value and cultural approaches, actually have people at their heart. Yes, it's enabled by technology. Yes, as Osama mentioned, you need great sources of data and good historical data, but you also need people who are willing to get stuck in. And one of the things I've noticed about Riyadh Air, and which I love about Riyadh Air, and this is probably the 5th time I've been leading the data or AI endeavor for different organizations, it's the first time when we haven't had that reticence to adopt. People are leaning forward in their chairs saying, tell me more, what can we do? How do I help to really boost my productivity or to delight our guests using AI? And it's like, yes, let's have that conversation. So for us, I think, in terms of making sure that adoption lands and crucially sticks, it survives the hype cycle, there's probably 3 things you need. First, let's be really clear. None of this is done for its own sake, which is a shame because some of it's super interesting, but you do it to solve a problem or a challenge, and that's either a problem your guests have or a problem your employees have. So what's the business challenge you're trying to solve for? Make sure whatever you do solves the problem. That's the first one. And then you're more likely to get adoption because it helps. Secondly, then there's the challenge of making it easy, making it really easy. So doing the right thing is the easiest thing. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure you're all very hard-working. I'm hard lazy. If doing the right thing is easier than doing anything else, I'll do the right thing. But if something else is easier, I'm tempted. So make it easy. And then the third thing is never forget to add that wow factor that keeps them coming back. And actually, while this conversation was going on, I was reading the signs at the back of the room saying global AI, now, next, never. I think actually that's what we're talking about. Now solve the problem. Next, make it easy. Never forget the wow factor. And if you do that, you've got a good chance at adoption.
No, thanks a lot, Tim. I mean, that's, I think just to recap, these are very interesting points. One is on giving them the solution, so what solves their problem. The second is on making it as easy as possible. And the third is never forget the wow factor. The next question is circles back to Abdulaziz on responsible AI as well. So if we look at Saudi as a market and the region in particular, I'm sure that there are some cultural considerations, such as also the ones that Imad mentioned. So if a tourist is asking for an itinerary, they need to be tailored to the region, they need to be tailored to the country as well. So what are these key cultural and social considerations in Saudi that AI developers should always keep in mind when rolling out AI applications?
First of all, let's all agree that Saudi market is the same as any other country. The same principle that I mentioned earlier, it does apply, the business and the legal and the ethical. I want to emphasize more on the diversity. Here in Saudi, we don't have a single culture, we don't have a single society. We are mixed. Actually, we are more into continent, different culture, different food, different society, and etc. AI developers should understand this diversity, and also I would suggest that they have a local team as part of their team to develop. This will help them to increase maybe the data quality, choosing the data, mitigate any bias, and also to make sure that they produce a good product. And by the way, Saudi are tech savvy. They like to adapt to new technology very fast, and in the same time, they have a very high expectation. So if you don't have a good product, you will not succeed.
I think that also goes back to Tim's point on making it as easy as possible,
Yes.
while maintaining this wow factor. Tony, you've worked with Meta for years, and I think, we all agree that Meta is way ahead of the curve when it comes to AI, data, technology, etc. I'd like to take your point of view as a final question on the learnings that you can give us on, based on your experience working with Meta to adopt and ensure successful implementation of AI.
Then I can ensure a successful implementation, but the first is like learning from mistakes, right? Like digital transformations, I'm sure most of us in the room have been part of them. We saw things that we got wrong. Learning from those and like making sure we don't make the same mistakes again. It's very easy to fall foul for a salesman's kind of pitch of like, this is an AI product that's going to solve all of your wildest dreams. It just doesn't work that way, right? So like, first of all, learning from what we did before. I think secondly, back on Tim's point, it's about purpose. So what we built at Meta in my particular area of marketing science, like had a real purpose. So what we needed to do back in 2010, 2011 was to like show how ads worked. This was a totally new way of looking at advertising in social media and on mobile, which just wasn't done before. So we had to find a new way of doing this. So we had to convince Zuck to give us some money or some processing power so we could actually build this, right? So what we did was we built an experimentation platform so we could show all advertisers how our ads worked relative to other things. Everyone understood how to advertise on TV or posters. We had to build this for ourselves. So we borrowed from all the experimentation platform that we had on users. So there's a lot, as you may know, behind the scenes of testing things on users. When you've got hundreds of millions to billions of users, you can run experiments, you can make them scientific. So we took the same thing and we applied it to marketing. When I worked in marketing previously, to run an experiment to see if something was successful might be a 6-month process. I could do one every 6 months. With this at Meta, with machine learning, all of a sudden, I could do thousands of tests in a year. So the more time that you're like swinging the bat, the more chance you got of hitting the ball, right? So adopting that made a massive difference to both our advertisers understanding how the product worked, but also to us understanding how our adverts worked, so that we could build better products for advertisers, and it seems to have worked over the long term. The last thing, just to round off on that I'd like to touch on again, is an underlying theme: people. Without the people that you invested in the right way, none of this can happen. And so, for transformation to happen at all, making sure you're investing in the people, bringing them in, encouraging in the right way, letting them experiment, not being too hard on them when they get it wrong, first and foremost, because there is experimentation to be done. But building that into practice is going to be essential.
Thanks a lot, Tony. So we've reached the last question. If anyone wants to add any additional points, please feel free, else I'll just close this panel. If I can leave you maybe with 3 key takeaways from this discussion. The first one is that AI is actually here to help. So it's actually here to enable us rather than replace us. The second is that us data practitioners should always make sure that 1, we're solving the problem for our counterparts. 2, we're making it as easy as possible for them to use these AI applications. And 3, to always maintain this wow factor in. And the third one is on the responsibility that we have in making sure that our AI applications are rolled out in a tailored way based on the context, the cultural situation, and so on. I'd like to thank the Ministry of Tourism once again, Saudi Tourism Authority, and Sadaya to help us in making this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.